your sheet, because what I want you guys to do now, and you'll notice that there's very few places that I've kind of really outlined and given you a hard line to kind of take notes within. Now, for the rest of this, what I've actually done is given you opportunities to think, because now I want you to completely engage in this lesson from the perspective of your students. Sometimes when I do this training, I tell people, I say, now you're going to be a student, you know, but you guys are on another level with that. You're not only going to be a student in terms of a learner, but you're also going to be thinking for your students and about and around your, you know, what your students have to, you know, those accommodations and modifications. So I want you to start thinking about that. So that being said, let's go into it. Notice it says questions, sources, and tasks. So whenever you guys think about these social studies standards, always think, you know, what are my questions, my compelling and supporting questions? What am I going to use? What sources am I going to use to do that? And what are my kids going to do? So you can really put it in 3 things. What are my questions? What are my sources? And what are they going to do to show that they're learning? And, you know, so think about that. So the compelling question that we're going to be using is, why do people move? So some of you guys are thinking, well, what are we going to talk about then? What's our lesson going to be about? So notice how this question is so broad and so big. So what I'm going to do with you guys is what I would do with my students. So it says here, first, we must stage the question for our students to connect, so they can connect to the main concepts. So obviously we're going to, you know, that we have the picture of the Puritans. We're going to be really actually be talking about, why do people migrate to other places to live? That's that big concept. That's our little secret. That's our teacher's secret. Okay. We know that's what we're going to talk about, but we can't look at our kids and say, why do people migrate? Because for one, that's going to take all day. Okay. They're going to have to define migrate. We don't want that. We really just want them thinking about, why do people move? So to think about that, and Dionne, you'll have to go get, if you can, go within the PowerPoint and get the Padlet, if you don't care, link and put it in the chat there, because they're going to need the Padlet. So I'm going to have this question up on the board. But before I go into that, I'm going to look at them and I'm going to say, why, you know, if you could move to another place, and I would say this to my kids, where would you move to? And oh my gosh, I want to apologize to every one of you. I meant to take that 2 off there. Sorry about that. So where would you move? Okay. Or to where would you move? If you could move to another place. So I want you all to think about it, because we're really going to do that. And so what I'm going to do, so Dionne is getting this Padlet, and I'm going to go ahead and go there myself. You guys should see a Padlet that should be coming up in the link. Are you able to get it, Dionne?
It's not opening correctly for me, so I'm trying.
Okay, let me do it.
Okay.
I can do that.
Okay, good.
Let me go to the chat and put this in there. If you guys have not, I love Padlet. It's one of my favorite things in the whole wide world. So there you guys go. Just click on it there. And it may not have done it, Dionne, because it's mine. It's my Padlet. So it may not have done that. So click on it when you guys get there. And if you have the link, you can type into it. So so what I'm going to do, I'm going to do with you guys what you all can do with your kids. And notice this says, post a picture of where you would move to if you could move anywhere. So you can see right there where I would move to. Now, if somebody knows the specific place, if you can look at that and tell where that is, I'm going to be real impressed. I will tell you this, it's not some exotic place, because if you know me, you know that I don't fly. So you know this is on the 48 contiguous states. So Denny, Paul, you probably have an idea, but I want to leave this up here. So what you guys,
I'm sorry. Some folks are saying it's blocked. We're having a little bit of trouble for folks getting into your Padlet.
Oh, you know why? Because your district may have it blocked.
Okay. So if you, they could use the chat feature.
They could. So let's use that. So
if
anyway,
they
so this is
cannot
what
get it, if their district has them blocked.
Yeah, if you could, like I'll show you guys what I did, is you could go here where it says image search, and this is why Padlet can be a really good tool. I'm going to block this. Oh, Padlet wants to, so you text it, just copy to the clipboard. Oh, we won't do that right now, since we're not going to be able to do. Okay, Padlet.
I'm gonna try it.
You're going to try it.
I'm going to send it to them in an email and see if they can join the link through their email.
So what I did is I typed in, just in case you guys are curious, you can hit that 4th little hexagon or whatever across from there. And I typed in, yes, I want to move to Key West. So you can find any picture, so you can post it. You can even post a video. For some of you guys almost posted that video, so you can put that in there. So this is a picture of Key West. So when you pull this, so you click on the plus sign. You can do, if you already have a picture on your phone, if you're doing this on your phone, if you already have a picture on your computer, like you have a picture of some, beautiful, country or city in Europe or whatever it may be, you can, you can take a photo, you can put one in there, or in this case, you can share a link that may have a video to it, whatever you guys, oh, someone wants to live in a castle. Is that you, Dionne?
No, it is not me. So it's working for someone.
Oh, that's great. So we won't stay here a real long time, you guys. But I want to leave up here a few minutes so you guys can see. So you can look at your kids and you can give them give them time, because again, like we said, we're going to go deeply into these standards, like especially when you think in terms of fifth grade, because that content's been shortened down a little bit. Thank you, Alexis. And Alexis, and what you guys can do, like in a moment, like I would give my kids time to put this on there, like especially, if you've got some kids that are using some assistive technology and they have this capability and they can put some things in there and that kind of thing, let them do that. Or they can have a picture, like you can tell them the night before, oh, somebody's moving to someplace I would move to. Yes, I like warm weather. But anyway, so you can give them this part of the assignment the day before and say, when you come in tomorrow, bring me a picture of some place that you want to live. And when you get them there, and as the pictures come up, so this is something I want you to really think about. When you get the kids there, you ask them, why do you want to move there? Well, they're going to give you all kinds of reasons. So this is where you, as the teacher, are the dedicated reporter, for the chart paper or the board up there, the whiteboard. You're going to tell them, you're going to say, well, you're going to notice they're going to say, because it's warm there. Okay, that's climate. So you're going to write down all the places they want to move, and then you're going to put beside of it why they want to move there. Oh, that's a beautiful valley. I wonder if that's the Shenandoah Valley. But anyway, sorry. So you can tell the social studies person in me is coming out. I'm looking at all these geographical places. Oh, yes, England, yes. So anyways, I want to live around the world. So anyway, so as the kids identify why they want to move there, then you can identify what concept that is within geography. Is it climate? Is it location? It may even be place. And so what's the difference between location and place? Location is a specific place in the map. Place is how the people that live there make it what it is. Like for instance, you think of Greenwich Village in New York City, somebody may want to live there. And it's a happening place. It has all kinds of restaurants. It has a really cool library, really nice little shops and things like that. They may want to live there for that reason. Yes, Tab, we could be neighbors. So anyway, so when you look at, get your kids, so as they identify why they want to, some of the kids may want to move there because it has good jobs. Okay, that's a purely economic reason. Get those kids to say out loud why they want to move there. Because this discussion for your kids and for you is going to inform your teaching. Because you're going to see already that those kids are connecting to social studies concepts. I'll let that sink in for a minute. So are you, by the way, Dionne, are you starting to see what we're talking about here? Those big rocks?
I do. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. Because this is this is a way we can have those kids thinking about questions that are around social studies, that frame that content around social studies. And then that drives how we move forward with that instruction for the students, as we are trying to think about how we take that big standard and how we move that to manageable chunks for students that have intellectual disabilities. Yes. Right. So how do we make that so that they still engage in the learning? Because I was just thinking about this, and some of the other teachers could jump in too, but like you said, bring in a picture. Or they're using their technology device. They could find a picture of somewhere they would like to live, right? So those could stem conversations about, like you said, place, culture, economics, and how that could look in that classroom. So these are things I think that kids could do and could be engaged in, because they're going to be excited to tell you.
Oh yeah.
Why? Like I selected the beach. I could be happy to tell you why I would want to be at the beach, right? So, but kids could do that, and they could be excited about something because it's something they selected, but it gets them engaged in that learning. So I do like that, Kim.
Exactly, and that's why we call it staging the question. So you've got to stage the question. How many times you guys do? Have you're all social studies teachers? I'm just going to call us out. Have your all social studies teacher in middle and high school, when you went in the kid and said, guys, today we're going to talk about the Civil War. Well, I can tell you a little secret. When you use the word, when you're saying things like that, like we're going to study the Civil War, that's a concept. That's for a teacher, okay? Or that's a topic. That is teacher talk. We shouldn't say teacher talk out loud. We should only work in questions, because questions are where we go for learning. When you think about the last time you had to know how to do something, you went to Google and you typed in a question. because you needed to learn on a personal level. A kid thing, just this week I did another one. I always use the example of changing the lock on my mom's door because it tore up. But there was another example I had this past week, and I said, you know what, I've got to remember this. And now I can't. So, you know, it's Friday. We'll let it go. But so questions are for learning. So that's the only kind of, that should be the only way we communicate with our students. So you have some gorgeous, gorgeous places up here. So I'm gonna have to go back to my Google Drive again and pull up another copy of the PowerPoint. So now you guys see, and I'm gonna go ahead and present because I know what stage. So we're gonna stage the question with the kids. So now that we've done that, let's go down here a little bit. And okay, yeah, here I go. I'm totally lost with my own PowerPoint. Great. So our learning experience, let me find it. If somebody sees it, there it is. Okay, so we've done that. We've got the kids thinking about the question. Why do people move and where are they going to move and everything? So then what I'm going to do is next I'm going to pull up this picture. And I have two different techniques of doing this picture, but I'm going to really super duper step out of my comfort zone. No, I'm not going to do it yet. So I'm going to give you guys time. I'm going to give my kids time to look at this picture. And notice up here, I'll put the standard that we're teaching. And that standard, by the way, is generate supporting questions. And this is the standard for 5th grade. Generate supporting questions to answer compelling questions about the founding of the United States. The problem sometimes is we get so lost in the language of the standards. This is why, number one, it is very important that we deconstruct the standards. But I know you guys are thinking, Kim, honey, I've got 150 standards for every one of the subject areas because I teach all of them. I know that. So let me help you here just a little bit. So what you guys focus on is generating supporting questions. When it talks about the founding of the United States, well, one aspect of the founding is people migrating to here or immigrating to here. So we're actually talking about immigration. So I've got folks thinking about this. So I'm going to put this picture up here. So I want you guys to look at it. And I'm going to go ahead and go to the next stage, to the next one, and say, we're going to do QFT. Some of you guys have seen this. Some of you guys came to that training where we did this, but some of you did not. So I'm going to give you 2 ways to question your students. We're going to spend this whole hour about questioning and working with your kids in terms of questioning because they need it. Of all the kids in your building, that's why I spend so long with questioning sometimes, because of all the children in your building, your all's kids, those students that are special needs and those students that are in special education, they have more need and should be encouraged to question more than anyone. We have got to open up that dialogue with them. And that's a dialogue because too often teaching is a monologue. But when it is a dialogue, just like you guys saw that quote earlier from Dewey, when we are doing social studies, the learning is going to happen naturally. So we are doing, this is what we do as historians or political scientists or whatever it may be. We engage in questions and dialogue to learn. So I want to go ahead and tell you guys this, the 4 rules of QFT, which is best I'm going to do this. And I know when I do this, Dionne's like, oh my gosh, we're going to do QFT virtually. Let's do it. So here we go. So 4 rules are, I'm going to hold you to it. Ask as many questions as possible. Do not stop to judge, answer, discuss the questions. Write the question exactly as it is stated, and that means in your own head, and change all statements to questions. So what I want you guys to do is to look at your structured note-taking sheet. You see that picture of and we're going to do each of these stages very quickly, by the way, because I want us to go into the other questioning format. You guys see the 4 rules there. What I would like for you to do when you look at the picture, I want you to ask your questions. So I'm going to give you 2 minutes to ask your questions, or 3, maybe. And I am timing. So ready? Go.
You want us to say these out loud to you, Kim?
No, I want you to write them on your little sheet.
Okay, just clarifying.
2 minutes. Write down as many questions as you can, because remember, that's rule number 1. Now what I want you guys to do, oops, there, oops. Yeah, here we go. So I want you to go through and look at your questions, and I want you to identify them as either opened or closed questions, okay? And I'm going to go back just a little bit so you can do that, so you don't read ahead on me. So identify those as either open and closed. I have a kindergarten teacher, and I'll always use her as an example that when she does QFT with her kids exactly as you guys are seeing it today. She says, if you open and close your mouth really fast to answer it, that would, like a crocodile, chopping it, then that is a closed question. But if you open your mouth for a really long time to have to answer it, that is an open, like I can't remember. Yeah, like a hippopotamus. That was it. When a hippopotamus yawns, she says that's an open question. So take about 15 more seconds because you may not have written a lot of questions, but identify those as either open or closed. Okay, as you do that, anticipating it and didn't take you long to do that, what I want you to do is to take one of those open-ended questions and I want you to make it closed. So I'm going to ask you guys, as you look at that one you're going to pick and do that with, what is it that you notice that you have to do to make it from open-ended to close it? What are you going to more than likely change to be able to do that? I want you to take it close-ended and I want you to make it open. Again, for both of these, as you rewrite them, add those questions to the list. Don't erase them once you change them. Keep those questions there, but take those two that you were changing and that you're changing from open to close and close to open, add those to your list. Now I know that already in your minds, if you guys are like, okay, wait, my kids cannot do this. We're going to talk about the modifications of QFT. Now what I want you to do, and I'm not going to give you, we're just going to do this really quickly. I want you to go through your list of questions and I want you to choose the question that you need answered. And okay, for some reason, I forgot to change it on this one because I brought a question, a slide from another one. But I'm going to go, actually, I'm going to fast forward to, oops, and it's not fast forwarding. It was going backwards. I'm going to fast forward to right here. Now I want you to go through, this is group, but we're not doing this as a group. We're doing this individually because we're virtual. So now what I want you to do is go through and look at these questions. And I want you to choose the question that you need to answer, just one, that will help you understand why people move. And then as you find that one question, what I'd like for you to do is to pop it into the chat. That one question that you need answered. So Dionne, get ready. Here we go. So go through all of your questions and say which one, and don't call it the best. We don't want that. We're not going to use that word with kids because when we start using the word best, we start saying things, we start making the kids think that they have to spend so long choosing that question that they're going to feel like, especially when they hear other kids' questions, they're going to be like, my question doesn't mean that. Here's the thing. When we talk about inquiry, and most importantly, when we talk about student-driven inquiry and open inquiry, we have to make sure that our students know that they are a valued member of that community. And we do that by not using words like best. And we also don't look at them and say, good question. We don't use that word. We say, thank you. And so you guys will hear me use that word in just a second. So ready? So guys, if you would, again, remember this is an open and positive community. And most importantly, it is a culture of inquiry, a positive culture of inquiry. So there is no such thing as a bad question. There are only questions. So I'd love for you guys to start populating the chat. What is the question that you need answered after looking at the picture? You brainstormed all these questions, you created all of these, then you prioritized down to the question, questions that, the question that you like the most. So what would your question be? Pop it in the chat there. Why are they wearing those clothes on the beach? Thank you, Dionne. That actually is an important concept that we would need to talk about. And that is a question y'all's kids would ask. Come on, you all. This is we want this to be an opportunity for you to see how questioning is going to be so important for your students, how you can use it. Why do they look sad? Thank you, Caitlin. What beach are they on? Thank you, Rhoda. See you guys? Oh yeah, this is, see, look at this. You're thinking, oh, no, these are not simple questions. They lead to big concepts. Those big rocks, here they are. Why do they look so sad? What beach are they on? Why do they have those clothes on? See, we're going to talk about all of that. Don't be afraid, pop your all. Why did the boats leave the people? Where are they going? Thank you, thank you. Where are they coming from, or where are they? Thank you, thank you. Thank you, Brandy. It's okay. It's okay. Listen, it happens. With my fingernails, I get all kinds of crazy spellings, not spillings. Keep popping those in there, you guys, because this is exactly what we're looking for. This is perfect. Oh, I used a value word. Sorry. So what I would be doing with my kids, and I did this in the classroom. Why are they carrying weapons? Thank you, Dionne. See, I can't even just say thank you because my face tells the kids when they've written a real good question. And I'm like, so I've got to stop that. I have to make myself be very flat. I would be writing these questions on the board as my kids gave those. You all, okay, so speaking of an accommodation or modification, what are they looking for? Thank you, T. Compton. I'm not sure of the whole name, and I'm sorry. If you want to put your name in there, that's awesome. So I'm going to be writing these on the board with your kids. I would have them do, would this activity be good for intro lesson for a social studies weekly unit? Yes. Yes, it would, Kayla. That's one who's, I mean, look, I'm using it. Yeah, absolutely. It would be. But I have another one. Don't worry, we have another one that we can use. It'd be wonderful to get some more questions, you guys. So what I would be doing is, and you could do this with your kids, is they could do this verbally. And then of course, and I'm gonna back out of this for a second and let Dionne talk about some of those ways, but I want to collect these questions and I want to put them on the board, or I want to put them on a large Post-it. Where did the ship come from? Yes. So Dionne, talk to us a little bit about how all the different kids could share. What are all the different possibilities of sharing their question?
Okay, Kim, I think that's a great point. We could start talking about right now. So if we have kids that they can't write these things, if we have the kids in their classroom and they're not able to write the questions on their own, we could, just as Kim said, write the questions on the board, write the questions on a whiteboard, use Post-it paper, and you write the questions for them and let them ask the questions and then help you prioritize the questions. So we could write them for them. We could, like I said, even use whiteboards and write those if we're working in small group with our kids, or you may only have one or two at the grade level. They could do text to speech, right? They could be at their device, and you could have a picture on their computer screen, and they could be using this with text to speech. So they could talk about what their questions are. That's one way to do it. For those of you that had a nonverbal student, what would you do? And that would be a good question. And those are things that we would like to ask. What would you do if you had a nonverbal student? How would you collect questions for them? How do you allow them to ask questions?
Well, one way might be an augmentative device.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's a good one, Danny. We have to think about those things. So you think about kids in your class. Do you have kids that are nonverbal? How do you have them respond? How do you know what they know? How do you have them respond? Augmented. That was easy for me to say. Picture cards. That is great, Brandy. That is great.
Choice board.
Choice board. Yeah. Pictures. Point. Yeah. Point. That's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, that's it. That's what we're, because you guys see, and this is why we have to be creative within these standards. It is expected from 5th grade on that our students produce supporting questions. And in high school, the expectation really is that our kids create the supporting and compelling. That is very much an expectation, but starting with middle school, that those lines really start to blur between who creates the question. Is it the teacher or is it the students? So this is why we have to think creatively together. Again, remember, this is a community of inquiry. It's a positive, open community of inquiry. So, and in this case, we're collaborating, and we have to support each other in this, because you guys already have so much that's on your shoulders. So let's help each other alleviate, some of that, by supporting each other. And so I love that all of this stuff that you guys have come up with, that's exactly what we were looking for. Because, like I told you earlier, your kids deserve this opportunity, if not, just as much, if not more. Because, for instance, I always remind people that you don't know what a kid doesn't know until you hear their questions. You can't listen to a student's answer to a question and say, oh, they know this. No, you really don't know what they don't know. You really don't know what they do not know. I did say it correctly, until you hear their questions, because that reveals a whole lot. But giving the students the opportunity to engage in questioning connects them with the content. So what I want you guys to do really quickly, and I've kind of given you a space there, right there beside where it says, write your questions here, or up there beside the picture. I want you to think individually for a moment. I don't usually have people pop this, and let me go back for a minute so you guys can do that. But I would love for you to reflect as an individual and just pop it into the chat. Notice how we did this activity, and I didn't do all parts of it, because for one thing, I wanted you to feel a little bit of how it would feel with your kids. Notice it was a picture. And if we're also talking about visually impaired, you guys know better than anyone how to use a picture with your students. You know, what are you going to do there? So I want to throw that one out there and let you guys brainstorm with us, or just tell us what you would do, how you would handle this part. You could even, you know, I'm thinking right off the bat, you could, you know, use, you know, a book that talks about, you know, that's a spoken text that talks about people stepping up on the beach from the ship, whatever it may be. Or you could be describing that to your kids and saying, you know, what are your questions now that you've heard this? You know, as you describe the picture or whatever. So thinking, you know, in ways that we can really create kids the opportunity, or give kids the opportunity to ask questions and connect to what you're getting ready to talk about. So that being said, so how did asking questions change your participation today? You know, even though we didn't see a lot of questions on the thing, this was kind of new for, you know, this is a new format for some folks. But then go differently into this, or deeply rather, is what do you understand differently now about the movement of people using questioning to engage with this topic? So having the chance to look at this picture, now what if, okay, I'm going to hush because I'm doing my own reflection, but I want to give you guys a chance to do that. So choose either one of those and respond into the chat. How did asking questions change your participation? Or what do you understand differently now about the movement of people because you used questions to understand it? Caitlin, do you care to open your mic and talk a little bit about that? Because I think that's really important. Different insights and thoughts. Thank you, Tabitha. Gives me a new perspective on doing a lesson. Wonderful. But Caitlin, do you mind opening up your mic and talk a little bit, if you don't care, or type it? Go ahead.
Okay, yeah, see, this has just made me think. I've always struggled with being wrong. Like I don't enjoy being wrong, making mistakes. And that made me think about a student, particularly all my students, but one student in particular. He does not fully participate in like lessons with me, or with anybody, with strangers, definitely, because he doesn't want to do something wrong or say something wrong. He's comfortable with just me and my aide. So that's limiting him to what he can do in participation in class and PE, stuff like that. Because
Yeah.
he doesn't want to be wrong. Because if he thinks he's made a mistake, he freaks out, or he like for me, like I would like stress about it. I'd over worry. Did I say the wrong thing? Did I do the wrong thing? That student may just completely shut down.
Yeah. I see that. I think I'll be really honest with you, Caitlin, and I can tell. So this gave you a big clue into who I am as a learner. I'm going to say that out loud. QFT changed what I did in the classroom, and it changed how I looked at my students. But I think that for me, it changed how I saw myself as a learner. That I finally learned how to honor my own questions. I have a story that I'm not going to tell, but about me finally getting the guts to ask a question in class my freshman year in high school. And I was shut down almost instantaneously. And I don't think I asked another question the rest of the time. Or if I did, it was because I really trusted that teacher. When we don't ask questions, Caitlin, and I think we have to think about this, and I'm saying this to all of you guys, when we don't ask questions about what we're learning, then we are not learning to the level that we could. Because that learning takes you, just like Dionne said a minute ago, that learning takes you to the next level. And our kids, there is so much in their life, especially those students that you have, but there are so much that they have that, you know, that if they approach learning in fear, then it freezes or stalls their learning completely. And we don't want them to do that. So if we want to create this really open community, we have to model that. So the fact that we're going to say, thank you. Thank you says, I see you. It says, thank you for being part of my classroom. Thank you for being here to learn. Thank you for being you. And that creates a confidence, and it is all about the rapport, Brandy. Absolutely. Absolutely. And it says, you know, I'm honoring you, but, you know, I'm recognizing that what you're saying is valuable. And I'm saying thank you for it, because thank you is much more valuable than that's a good job. Good job. Because then it's just good. What if you say great to another kid? They're going to sit there and say, oh, my question was only good, but theirs was great. That's why we can't use valuative words. We're just going to say thank you and just keep it right there. But thank you. Thank you so much, Caitlin. See, I'm saying thank you. Go ahead. Okay. So anyway, so why do we ask questions? We ask because it activates curiosity. We need our kids curious and if you guys notice, it got you focused immediately in on the idea of why people move. It connected students. And again, I put up here, I forgot to change this one. It's supposed to say the concept of migration because they're already thinking that, and to develop supporting questions. So here's some of the ways that you can modify this protocol. Take all the questions you can get, because this is, the more you do QFT, the more questions you're going to get, because your kids are going to get used to that. Caitlin, your one student, is going to start to feel bolder and bolder and realize he's important to the whole classroom, not just himself. You're going to be the dedicated reporter, or your aide may be if you have the luxury of having one. But the other thing is you're going to limit, notice how I limited the prioritization to one question to all of you guys. Because for me, that's it. Even if you only produced one or two, I'm going to give you the chance to produce one, or to share that one. So you are going to be an important part of that inquiry. So if I tell you, oh, submit 4, then you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I can only think of 2. So think about how your kids would feel. Again, going back to Caitlin's example, when you start thinking of that kid, so I gave them the opportunity to prioritize, it says here to 2 or 3 for the entire class. Well, each kid may only submit 1, and that's okay, because it's going to be a process throughout the entire year that we're going to give them the opportunity to do it. So another technique that I wanted to show you guys in terms of getting the students to produce questions is called the visible thinking strategy. And VTS, created by Philip Yetterwine, I think is how he says his last name, was actually created to take students into museums. Because, we all know, sometimes you go into a museum, you're looking at, sculpture, you're looking at a painting, whatever it may be, and you may not know a thing about it. But what they started finding when he started working with these students in museums, when he went in with these 3 questions and they started asking those questions, that it told the people doing the tours or whatever, or the museum guides, it told them where to start the thinking around that piece and to start answering those questions and everything. What I like about QFT is that you get all the questions out on the board right off the bat. There is no judgment absolutely whatsoever involved. I'm even going to suggest for you guys one modification that you could do with QFT is just use 2 of the rules. That ask as many questions as possible and do not stop to answer, judge, or discuss. And build up to, adding the other 2 rules. Because for instance, you'll notice the 4th one said to change all statements to questions. That may take a while because that's language mechanics. That may take a while with your kids. So starting off with just 2 rules, but really emphasizing those 2 rules may be one way to do that. So when we look at the visible learning strategy or thinking strategy, then we look at this, we see there's 3 questions. What is going on in this picture? What makes you say that? And what else can we find? So this may be the technique you want to use for a while to get kids asking questions and then build up to QFT. See, this could even be a scaffold to that. So I'm going to look at you guys and say, what is going on in this picture? So once again, I'm going to open up my chat because I want you guys to chat. So what is going on in this picture? Now, don't think big. Think little, because remember, this strategy was actually created for K3 kids in mind, but it also works, by the way, in high school. So for those of you that teach high school, believe it or not, I use this with my kids. So just throw it out there. What do you see happening in this picture? Okay, well, people are coming to shore from the boat. People traveling to a new place. So people are on the beach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick somebody. Oh, and whoever T. Compton is, I'm going to pick you. People look tired. Oh, see, I want to pick every one of these. Okay, so I'm going to stop right there. So I'm going to say, let's do Lauren's. This is the last one. So Lauren, I won't make you open your mic unless you really want to, and I would love it if you did. Because notice how somebody asked that question a while ago, by the way. Why do the people look sad? Talking about that. So notice how this is something in 2 different techniques that people are bringing up. So Lauren, I'm going to say, now you said, what is going on in this picture? You said people look sad. So I'm going to ask Lauren, what makes you say that?
The looks on their faces, they just look really tired and kind of unhappy.
So right off the bat, so here at this point, what I would say, so I'm going to write that down as a teacher. I'm going to have that up there because we're going to go through and we're going to look at that. We're going to answer that question. So Lauren, I now have the opportunity, thank you so much, to bring in an article or something, whatever it may be the next day, which by the way, it's actually a little bit later in the unit, that we're going to look at, we're going to read this article that's going to tell us that this trip took about 2 or 3 months to get over there. So they are tired. They've been on the ship for about, 2 to 3 months. They're exhausted. So look at that. So that gives you a chance to look at what they went through to migrate. So see that again, there we go, Dionne. Ding, ding, ding. There's another one of those social studies concepts that we would want to talk about. Migration is hard. It is not easy. So thank you, Lauren. I'm going to scoot up here. So let's go up here to, let's see, I think it was Rhoda. Well, actually, several of you guys said they're walking on the beach. Let's see, let me go find that. Rhoda, you said, okay, yeah, people are on the beach. So what makes you say that, Rhoda?
I can see them.
You can see them on the beach.
You can see
Okay,
them on the
good.
beach.
Very good, very good. Now, someone also asked, but maybe that was in the QFT. So this is why I'm going to keep that picture up there for a little while. Somebody asked in QFT, remember, why do they have on those clothes on the beach? So yeah, why do they have those clothes on the beach? So that now gives me a chance to talk about geography. One, that gives me a chance for them to talk about their long trip. They must have come from someplace cold, right? Because this is all their clothing. But maybe they need clothes like that. Because if you guys know Massachusetts, because yes, this is the Pilgrim. So this is Plymouth. And we also know that they landed somewhere around October, November. Okay. If you've ever been to Massachusetts that time of year, trust me, you don't want to go down to the Cape. It's cold. It's very cold. I've even seen it be cold in May because I have my best friend lives in Massachusetts and has, FaceTime me from the beach. And even though she's on the beach and it's May or June and it's in the evening, it's still a little bit, it's a little bit cold sometimes. So we get to talk about climate and we get to talk about geography. Another one of those things to hang on. So let's see. So what's going on in this picture? Does anybody else want to volunteer one there really quickly? So Dionne, can I use you? Because you said something very important. People are coming to the shore from the boat. What makes you say that, Dionne?
Well, I see the boat, the small boat that's coming from the big boat, and it's pointing in the direction to the shore. So it looks to me like they're traveling to the shore and those people have already arrived.
Okay, good. So they're bringing more people, right?
Right.
So what does that tell you? So I want to look at the class because again, this is something that's going to be important for us to talk about. Why could the big boat not come any closer to the shore? Well, this now gives me a chance to talk about transportation. Because that boat could not make it all the way to the shore because of the way that it was made. And we could talk about geography in relation to transportation. Again, there's something to talk about there. So Tabitha, you said people coming to a new place. What makes you say that? Tabitha may have had to step away for a second. Does anybody want to take, is it Tabitha or is it someone else? Yeah, it's Tabitha. Does anybody else want to take that on for Tabitha?
I'm here. Sorry, I had to ask a question.
It's okay. Listen, we knew that. I didn't panic. Go ahead, Tabitha. What makes you say that they're coming to a new place?
Well, you see two different boats that's in the water, and one's going away from the shore, one's coming in, and there's people getting off the boats in the water on the beach.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. See, there you guys did it. You did it again. That was incredible. So you guys can see that. Now, what else can we find is for those moments where the conversation lulls. And I was about to do that with you guys, but I'm having to let you guys go to break. So that worked out perfectly. You guys did perfect. So what I would like for you guys to do during that break, if you guys will notice on your sheet here that I've asked you on this last question here, it says, if I had to choose between QFT and VTS, which would I choose? Why? And when would I use these strategies?